Hey there, Jeff Manchester, Manchester Music. Welcome. In this video, I want to talk to you about a tool that's pretty young, but one that I just discovered and I think is changing the way that I think about sample libraries, playing them back, interacting with them. It's called the SINE player, and it's by Orchestral Tools. And I want to say up front, I'm not endorsed or anything by Orchestral Tools. Longtime fans of the channel will know that I've always held them in really high regard, and I love their sample libraries, but I didn't know that they made this, sampler. I think we're all kind of living in Contact or some other thing, so it's really tough to get our attention and get us to try new things and do new things. And it wasn't until they released a new sample library not too long ago that I really dug into SINE and understood why it was special, how it was different, and how it could kind of fit into the way that I composed music. So I'm going to do this video about the SINE player, the things that I find the most cool about it. I don't know everything about the SINE player, but it is simple enough to use that I can get my head around the way that it works, tell you guys about it, and also maybe call out a couple of areas for improvement where I think that, if it does go in this direction in the future, it would be really cool. So if you have no idea about the SINE player, if you're hanging out in, Play, East, West, or Contact or whatever, and you don't know about this thing, I really think you should. So please stick around and let's walk through it together. Okay, so this is the SINE player. And right now I'm using it in standalone mode. I don't have it in a DAW, but if I did, it would look exactly the same. And the only real difference would be that we'd have this tethered, this BPM to, whatever the BPM in our host happens to be. I want to start with the tabs. First, we have the library tab. This is, I think, home base, okay? And you can see that we have all the libraries that we own and are able to play and get sound in and out of represented in this tab. So we have Junkie XL's Brass, which actually debuted with the SINE player, if memory serves. And we have layers, we have some creative sound packs. So this, at a glance, just shows you everything in a really easy to kind of see way. Now, going a bit further, let's say that I actually wanted to get some sound in and out of SINE. All I have to do is press Browse on one of these libraries I'm interested in playing and twirl down some of these folders, and we can see some colors. I'll explain those in a moment, but we also have spot and room mics, and we can see that that's kind of the mic position for these guys. So let's say that I twirled this one down. I see all of the articulations contained within it. And if I want to, I can double click and then bring them all over. And now we have a whole bunch of articulations. C6 sustains ah. So we have that patch loaded here on the white keys, and on the gold keys, this represents my key switches, and there's quite a few of them, right? Because we have a lot of articulations. Now, here's the first and really cool thing that I discovered about SINE, and that's if you have a keyboard that doesn't really support this full range of having all these things all over the place, so such a wide chunk of keys between the stuff you play and your switches, you can bring this down and bring it all the way over here. Now it's so much closer. The right and the left hand are really close together. That is really cool. And also, you can extend the range of playable keys over here, all the way down, something like that. I'm assuming that what this kind of thicker line means is that these are the sounds that were actually sampled, and the rest are being kind of morphed and morphed with and won't have the same kind of fidelity. But all this to say, you can bring this like that. You can also move this guy up and down as well if you need to. And you can see that you went up 12 keys, or you can bring it down. And I think I'm going to get it right just by going over one. Yes, this brings me back to home base. But I think that this way that you can be very modular with this is really cool and new and unique and very flexible as well. Moving over to the articulation list, we can also be modular with this too. So let's say that, the real articulations that I want are hanging out down here, and maybe the first one too. I want to bring whispers up and have it be B4, and I also want the sustains vowel morph to be C5. I've just made it really easy for me to key switch between these guys with these keys here as I play. So that's really cool. And again, modular. Love that. Now the other thing to know is that I can actually remap all these articulations according to maybe not key switches, but MIDI channels. I bring this up because I'm not someone who likes key switching. I don't. I usually just have the patch that I want, and then I play that on one MIDI track. Here's the cool thing though. I can instruct SINE to remap all these articulations according to a bunch of different things, according to program changes, CC values, MIDI channels, or key switches. We are on key switches right now, but if I want to, I can remap them according to MIDI channels. So let's say I have in my DAW 16 MIDI tracks set up. Now I press this button and they're all reassigned, which is really cool. And so now we have all the way to 16. So if I, remap to key switches, we kind of go back to home base. And now here we are. So I think that is also really neat. If I want, I can click here and change this to Omni. Right now we're kind of default with MIDI channel 1. But let's say that I bring in another library in here. Let's see. I don't want drums. I'll do a quartet. String quartet. I see we have a different mic configuration here. I could double click this. And now we get these guys populating down here. If I want, I can make this also MIDI channel 1. I can bring this up and make it, the first thing that I see here if I want to. I can change its channel really quickly here to, let's say I want this channel 2, I want this channel 1. I can reconfigure its articulations. It's just really easy to make this work how you actually want to work. Now on the bottom right, I don't want to go through all this stuff because I don't use too much of it, to be quite honest with you, but we have our main section where we can control the volume. We can get some round robin action here, dynamics as well. We also have, probably this is the coolest thing I think, which is the envelope, so the ADSR. So we can actually affect the envelope to change the sound. And one of the things that I have always been a little finicky about with orchestral tool libraries is that they often have the sound of the tail deck stage, which is what people want, but sometimes you don't really want the room in the take. You want to take the room out of the take. And one of the nice things you can do with this, I'm not going to do it live because I might mess it up, is you can manipulate the ADSR such that you are really choking out the room, so you get a very dry set of samples. So that's really cool. And there's also some legato things that we can do here as well. That in a nutshell is the library, and this is kind of the main, like I said, it's home base for you. Now, one of the other cool things is indexing and searching stuff. So if I want, I can go to my library tab here, go to this little loop, magnifying glass, and I can type in strings. Remember I was talking about colors before? I type in strings, and now I get all of the strings that I own. And what was I saying about colors? Well, it looks like green is string. So at a glance, you can see very quickly, oh, these are strings. This is a string. This is a string, whatever. There's some other colors down here. If I go to brass, for example, I think brass is a different color, obviously. It's more of a kind of light, kind of pukey green, yellow. So I can see all of the brass that I own, which kind of, I guess it resembles the color of the instrument. I don't really know what they were going for, but that's what it looks like to me. If I want to clear the articulation, let's go back to brass. I can choose, I want to bring in this guy, these rips up and down, and I want to bring in something from the Junkie XL. I want to bring that in. I can do that. I can make these both MIDI channel 1. And let me go back to the library tab. This is why I don't play live, guys. But I'm assuming I am playing both, and that is really fun and really cool. So there we go. That is an overview of the library tab where I spend most of my time when I'm working with, the SINE player. Over here we have performance. What I want to do is bring in a couple different patches to really show you what's cool about performance. So if I bring in, I'm actually going to clear this. And by the way, I can just go like this and then just backspace or delete. And then they screw off there and they get out of the way. So I can go to voices. I can go to soprano, bring these in, go over to the performance tab. We have our key switches here, which is like, let me actually bring this back. Can I bring this over? No, it looks like I'm kind of stuck there because there's some playable stuff here. So what I'm going to do is bring this over to my right hand instead. So as I key switch, this little guy moves, right, to kind of accommodate whatever I'm on here. But the real story is in the poly mode, because now what I can do is I can blend a couple different articulations together. So let's say that I really like this sustained ah. Cool. Let me see what else I have here. That sounds kind of cool. So I'm going to click this. I'm going to click this other one, hitting Apple or Command. Now we see the pie kind of splits here, right? And let's do one more. Let's see what this sounds like. I'm just looking for sounds here. Okay, let's do this one, and this one, I think. So now we have 3 patches. I just hit, I guess that's contiguous clicking the Apple key and selected these 3. And now I can cycle between them in different ways. So I have a little knob on my complete control keyboard. Right, so as I move this little wheel thing, depending on where I am with this pie chart, it's going to play whatever the corresponding thing is. So if I put my foot down on the sustain pedal, I can actually make a chord as I move through these guys. Or I can go to this switch mode and literally crossfade between all of them, which is kind of cool. So to me, that is really interesting and cool. Let's keep moving to the mixer tab. Here we have mic configurations for our, whatever we're playing with over here. And I can see that we have spot and room mics. And this is one feature that Orchestral Tools is really proud of. I have to say I don't use it very much, but if you want to save some memory and merge the mic positions together, just have them controlled by one kind of composite fader, I can do that. By the way, I can also solo these out. So now we're just getting the room mics or the nice close spot mics, okay? But if I have them both selected here, I can merge the spot and room together and have them on one custom, let's just say, Jeff's mic position, Jeff's custom mic position. But I always feel like I'm doing math in front of the class. So we'll merge those. It's doing some math. We'll let it load. Mixing all the samples together. So now we have our custom mic position, which is really helpful. We can always go back. So that might be helpful to you if this is something that you really care about. Just thought I'd show you how it works and that you can do it. The other thing, before I forget about this, is it'd be really great if you could just double click to return things to default. Double clicking doesn't really do that. Command clicking doesn't. What about control clicking? Nope. Shift clicking? No, that doesn't do it either. Option clicking? That doesn't do it either. So double click to return things to default would be super helpful. Anyway, we've explored a couple of tabs. Now we're kind of getting into the nitty gritty and arguably my favorite thing about the SINE player over here, the store. Options, well, it's just the options, right? You would think that by clicking Command and comma, you would get the options, but you do not. It does not take you there. You have to go to options over here. And here you can set up your MIDI devices, your key switches, controller map, and also you have your audio settings. Telestream audio, this is obviously my little screen flow capturing all this information. Fun, cool, we all get it. Let's move over to, I think, one of the more interesting And to me, the real competitive advantage that SINE Player offers, and that's the Store tab, which is weird, right? Why would I be gushing about a Store tab? But here's the really cool thing, the groundbreaking thing, in my opinion, about the SINE Player. I can see at a glance everything that Orchestral Tools kind of has to offer. I can also see what I own from them. So in collections down here, I mean, I have this stuff as like contact sample libraries. I haven't brought them over to SINE yet. I certainly will. But for now, I can see that this one's ready to go. This brass is ready to go. I can see that layers is ready, and these guys here aren't. But I do have these other ones that I have yet to bring over, and it's very easy to bring them over if you want. But there's also some stuff that I don't have. And if I want to kind of explore, what else I don't have and might want. For example, let's click on this SINE bundle over here, and I can see that I have licensed this brass, but I don't have the percussion. So this is a little bit honestly like Splice. And I can see my price over here, which is, I guess, super heavy discounted. I can go show instruments, and now I can go to the articulations list. I can see at a glance the different mic positions. I can see what the articulation is. It's a single hit. And I have a play button on some, and when I play that, I can hear everything contained within this little block of sounds. So if you are not interested in spending however much it is for you, depending on where you are in the world, and you only want the concert toms, you can take a listen. You can investigate the different mic positions. And then decide if you want to go, €60 plus VAT. To me, this is kind of unreal that this exists because, as you know, I've griped on this channel. I know you can't see my face. You're just going to stare at SINE for a bit. I've griped on this channel a lot about not being able to download demos of things. Sample libraries are so friggin' expensive. They always have been. They always will continue to be. But this way, if you just want this like a la carte, I just want this, I just want that, or whatever, you can buy it and then keep moving on with your life. You don't need everything, literally everything and anything that the sample library has to offer. So it's all here contained in this piecemeal way, which is so smart. And I know, we're still not at the point where we can demo sample libraries because we have to download and things like that. And there's probably some legal issues with letting you kind of demo them and stuff. I guess if you want to create things with what you've demoed and haven't paid for, I don't know. But to me, this is an amazing solution for folks that just want to get their feet wet with a library, or they only have a certain amount of money, or they just want a certain thing, a certain, instrument or certain style. They can just rip it, get it, and then keep moving, all within, this sequencer and store, which is actually really smart on the part of Orchestral Tools because they get you at the point of purchase. Like, oh, I need this. And you don't have to go to a website or, put your password in. Like, it's all contained in this one really cool place. So let's keep exploring. Let's put in some search terms. I want a violin. And you can see the other really cool thing is that when I type in violin, things are morphing and changing to be like, oh, there's some violins in here. There's some violins in these collections here. If I click here, I'm hopefully given some results that maybe corresponded to what I checked it. I don't know if it actually does correspond, but I guess we have first chairs. I guess there's some violins in here, obviously brass. So let me go back here. And what if I typed in cello and enter? Okay, enter doesn't really do much, but we do have instruments down here, which is really cool. Let's try some cello in this library. So, I mean, the work that Orchestral Tools must have put into recording samples for literally everything is really, really impressive. We can see 5 different mic positions. I think that this way of browsing and shopping for libraries and sounds is really, really interesting and cool. So here's the cool thing is that if you're browsing, you can also see, oh, I actually already have this. It's licensed, or I don't have this guy. It's $56 plus VAT. So that I think is just is really neat. This dynamic updating system. It shows you what you can bring in. It's all just very, very clever and new, and I'm just kind of really happy that I'm getting into it now. And of course, on the very last tab here, we have my licenses, which shows you what you have ready to go. And of course, if you don't have everything and you've downloaded the RBus or Babel or whatever, it'll show you that you have X number of patches or samples, and you could always buy more or whatever's downloaded. So this is a kind of broad overview of the way that this guy works. So I want to call out a couple things that I like, a couple of areas of improvement or things that I think could make the SINE player even cooler, even better. The first is, I'll be honest, I don't really have any occasion to hang out in the performance tab as much as I think this switch mode is really cool. It's kind of like painting, and you get different colors, you can blend things together, get new sounds. I think this is scratching the surface. When I look at some competitor stuff, certainly with output, definitely a little bit with the new contact stuff, they have performance stuff that actually manipulates MIDI. So they've got arpeggiators and simple chord stuff, almost like scalar, almost like what you have in your DAW, different MIDI effects. I think they could really build out this performance tab and make it a bit more than just this kind of swirling color palette of existing patches that play back, and make it into something really interesting. Maybe you can reverse samples, or maybe you can scatter them. I don't know. I'm not sure how much you can build into this player until the point where you kind of start going over your CPU and things like that, and defeating the whole purpose of this very quick, nimble sample library online store kind of system. But that's one area where I'm I kind of expected a little bit more from the performance tab. And of course, like I said, this is a very young sampler, so maybe there's more to come. As far as the store goes, which is one of the coolest things, I have to say, I think it could be a little bit more like Splice in that you can sample different sounds together at the same time. It'd be great if I could click on this and go into the violins articulations, and this is getting pretty nitty gritty here, but just hear the saltasto sustains, or just hear the harmonic sustains, and not have to kind of play through something that is designed to be like a really cool demo. So if it was a bit more kind of I just want to hear if my articulation, the one that I absolutely need, is in there, instead of hearing this kind of demo back and forth. I think that would be really helpful, and also probably possible, because after all, they're sampling all of these articulations in a very dry way for when you purchase them and play them back. So it'd be nice to get a very static, simple, this is this articulation, this is that one, this is the other one, instead of having to wait through this very lovely sounding, but it's a little long. You kind of want to see if your friend's there, so to speak, with the articulation you want demo over here. But hopefully I have shown you something new and unique, because I think the SINE player is new and unique, and I think it is worthy of your attention. And just the final thing here is, it is free, and you should check it out if you haven't. They have some free libraries and packs to get you in, like this layers one. I'm sure there's even more on the Orchestral Tools website. But anyway, that's it for me. Let's go to the other side, back to the addressing camera portion, and we'll say goodbye. Thank you so much for watching. I'm curious to know what you think. If you think what you saw is enough to make you want to go try it, or if you're kind of happy where you are, what features you think it needs, what ways in which it kind of differs and presents a cool competitive advantage to something that you know and love. I'm really curious to know, and if there's something that I missed about it, please let me know, because I'm only just kind of digging into this thing and discovering it for the first time, but I think it's really promising and really, really cool. So always love to hear from you. Leave a comment, question, vodkastpodcaster@gmail.com, and let's leave it there. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.